They erased me from the will after I silently paid off their $80,000 mortgage. No thank you, no recognition, just a legal document that named my younger sister as the sole heir. That day, I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I simply placed the papers back on the table and walked out of their lives. Hi, I'm Rachel. For years, I was the daughter who showed up, who held everything together behind the scenes, until the day I realized being useful was not the same as being loved. You won't believe what happened when I finally told my side of the story, and trust me, it shook more than just the family tree. Before we dive into the story, if you're enjoying these meaningful stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more. Now let's start the story together. I used to think showing up was enough. Every Sunday, I'd drive across town to the house I once called home. I'd bring groceries, usually something Mom liked, green apples, almond milk, and a fresh loaf of sourdough from that bakery she never went to but always complimented. She never asked me to come, but she never told me to stop either. The house on Willow Lane hadn't changed. Same brick facade, same faded lawn flamingos stuck in the dirt since who knows when. Inside, the scent of cinnamon drifted from a candle burning near the fireplace, mixing with old wood and paper. "Can you help me with these?" Mom asked, already halfway into the kitchen. She didn't make eye contact, just motioned toward a stack of folders. I nodded and followed her usual rhythm. Sit at the cluttered dining table, open the folders, organize, file. That day, though, something felt off. I noticed a cream-colored envelope buried under electric bills and tax letters. Its neat handwriting read, "Estate plan and will." I hesitated, not out of curiosity, but habit. I'd always double-check these things for her. Typos, dates, overdue notices. That's who I had become, the fixer, the quiet glue. I opened the folder. The first few pages were standard. Legal language, signatures, notarized stamps. Then came the asset section, the house, the SUV, savings account, jewelry. Everything was left to Samantha. There was a single line at the bottom. "We love both our daughters." No mention of me, not even as a backup. I didn't move, just stared at the paper while the clock in the kitchen ticked louder than usual. Mom re-entered, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Did you find the—" I looked up, holding the will. "Is this real?" She paused, then looked away. "That's just something the lawyer—" "I paid off your mortgage," I said, quieter than I expected. Silently, month after month. "And I'm not even worth a name on paper?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. No apology, no denial, just silence. I set the will back on the table, not roughly, but like someone placing down a contract they never signed. Then I stood, walked past the hallway photos, every frame showcasing Samantha's graduation, her wedding, her baby shower. None of me, not one. Near the front door, I saw it. The wool blanket I gave Mom for her birthday last year, still in its packaging, tucked beside an unused humidifier. I didn't say goodbye. I just opened the door and stepped out into the golden light. The warmth on my face felt strange after the coldness inside. No one followed. No one called out my name. And for the first time, I felt the difference between being needed and being seen. The silence wasn't what hurt. It was how quickly they treated it like a pause button, as if I was still there, just invisible again, ready to resume the usual support, no questions asked. That Monday evening, the rain hit the windows like fingers tapping for attention. I had just changed into a sweatshirt and wool socks when my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. "Mortgages due. Can you help by Friday?" No hello. No context. Just a reminder. Just like the old days. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I opened my banking app and scrolled. Years of transfers labeled home or utilities or emergency. So many that they blurred together. I took a breath and replied, "Samantha owns it now, remember?" Less than 2 minutes later, a Venmo request popped up. From Mom. $2,900. No caption. Not even a please. just the number. I hit decline without blinking. The next morning, I opened my old notebook, the one I kept hidden in the back of a drawer. Inside were passwords, account numbers, billing cycles, everything I had once managed for them. I tore out the pages, rolled them carefully, and stepped onto the balcony with a ceramic bowl from the kitchen. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled wet. One by one, I dropped the pages in and lit a match. The paper curled, blackened, disappeared. I didn't feel triumphant, just lighter. Later that evening, I lit a small lavender candle near the couch and curled up with a worn art course catalog I'd picked up years ago, but never let myself consider. I flipped through each page slowly. Watercolor, mixed media, digital illustration. Another buzz, this time from Samantha. They didn't mean to hurt you. You've always been the strong one. I'm not like you. I exhaled, my thumb hovering over the screen before typing back. Then prove you deserve what you've been handed. Start by paying the mortgage. The typing bubble popped up, disappeared, then returned. Finally, her reply. Don't be surprised if Mom and Dad never forgive you. I turned the phone face down on the table and walked to the kitchen. I set water to boil and reached for my favorite mug, the one with the chipped rim I never got around to replacing. Outside, the neighbors' jazz floated softly through the walls, mingling with the smell of tea leaves and burnt paper. That night, I didn't set an alarm. For once, there was no one I needed to be up early for. I was slicing an orange when I saw the car. That silver Honda Odyssey, parked awkwardly near the curb, was unmistakable. The same van I once co-signed for, the one Dad nearly lost before I stepped in to cover the missing payments. I had transferred the title to him as a quiet goodbye gift, a peace offering, and now it sat there like a memory I didn't invite. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and peeked through the blinds. My parents were standing near the building's front entrance. Samantha trailed behind them, clutching a folder like it was holding her together. I didn't rush. I poured the tea I'd been steeping and left it on the table. It was still too hot to drink. When the knock came, I opened the door, but didn't step aside. Rachel, Mom started. Her voice was low, tight. We're sorry to show up like this, but things are getting serious. The bank is moving forward with foreclosure. Dad cut in, not meeting my eyes. Samantha shifted behind them. Her hair was in a messy bun, hoodie wrinkled. We just need help talking to the bank, she mumbled. I don't really understand all the terms. I thought it would be simpler. I let the silence hang for a moment, letting the air between us speak louder than anything else. I see, I said. Mom's eyes darted to my wrist. The bracelet she'd given me for my 30th birthday was still there, thin silver with a single blue bead. I'd worn it for years without thinking. Slowly, deliberately, I slid it off and tucked it into my coat pocket. The gesture made her flinch. Not dramatically, but enough. I didn't walk away fast, I said. I waited. I warned. I hoped we didn't know it would get this bad, Mom said, almost a whisper. That's the thing, I replied. You didn't want to know. You just assumed someone would catch you. Samantha finally spoke again. I didn't think it would get so complicated. I thought time would fix it. No one grows, I said, if someone's always there to catch them. They stood there, not arguing, not begging, just stuck. I'm not your safety net, I added. Then I stepped back, not into the apartment, but just enough to close the door gently between us. Their voices were muffled by the thick wood as the wind outside rustled the trees lining the street. Somewhere above, a window opened and the faint scent of laundry detergent drifted down. I sat at my small kitchen table. The tea was still warm. For a moment, I thought I'd cry, but instead I just stared at the cup, hands steady, heart quiet. Then my phone buzzed. I reached for it, expecting another text, but it wasn't a message. It was a Facebook notification. You've been tagged in a post. I didn't plan to go public. I didn't want an audience, or sympathy, or a wave of digital noise. But when someone takes your silence and paints it as selfishness, you realize the only way to reclaim your story is to tell it yourself. It was a quiet Sunday evening. Rain tapped lightly on my apartment windows, casting silver patterns against the golden light of my desk lamp. I had just poured myself a cup of mint tea when Olivia texted, "Hey, did you see your mom's latest Facebook post?" I hadn't. I hadn't logged into that account in over 2 years. I clicked the link she sent and waited. There it was, a post from Nora Benton, my mother. It's heartbreaking when your own child turns her back during your hardest times. Some people forget family is forever. The comments were already rolling in. Neighbors, church friends, distant cousins, all with the same tone, sympathetic, confused, judgmental. I kept scrolling. Samantha had left a comment, pinned by Mom herself. "Some people only act kind when they're above you. Real strength shows when you lift others, not when you walk away." A slow burn started in my chest. It wasn't just the misrepresentation. It was how easy it was for them to weaponize kindness, twist my absence into cruelty. I stared at the screen. Then, without fully realizing it, I stood up, walked to my bedroom, and pulled out the old accordion file from the bottom drawer of my dresser. It was labeled Home, Fitting. Inside were neatly organized papers, copies of mortgage payments, screenshots of transferred utilities, printed Venmo logs, even a copy of the will with Samantha's name circled in red ink from when I first found it. I returned to my desk, opened a browser tab, and logged into my old account. The interface looked different, colder somehow, but my profile photo was still there. Me, smiling faintly in a photo from a cousin's wedding. The caption said, "Reliable as always." I clicked Create Post. I didn't write much. My silence was never consent. I've spent years supporting people who erased me the moment I stopped being useful. So here's what they left out. Then I uploaded the images, one by one. The will, the mortgage documents, screenshots of text messages asking for money, Venmo logs with my name, a final photo of the $2,900 request from my mom. No caption, just a number. I clicked post, then exhaled. I closed the laptop. I didn't wait for reactions. I didn't refresh the feed. I just sat there, tea still warm beside me, and listened to the quiet hum of the fridge. It didn't take long. My phone buzzed, then again and again. "Olivia, Rachel, it's going viral." I hesitated, then opened the app. The first comment read, "Wait, you paid for all that? They never mentioned you even helped." Another, "You've always been the quiet one. I'm so sorry this happened." I scrolled through, face warm but heart steady. Then came the message that made me sit up straighter. Marcus Dillard, high school friend, real estate agent now. "Hey, I don't mean to pry, but I think your family's house just hit the market. It's showing as urgent on my feed." I stared at the screen, my reflection faint in the glass. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just whispered, "So they're really selling it." And for once, I didn't feel pulled to fix anything. I didn't need them to say sorry. At some point, you stop needing explanations. You just want the noise to stop. The guilt-laced texts, the long posts full of vague heartache, the twisting of your silence into something cruel. By early April, the buzz around my Facebook post had faded, but something inside me had shifted. For the first time in years, I wasn't in cleanup mode. I wasn't waiting for the next mess. I was just living. On Monday mornings, I walked through the glass doors of Civic Shelter, a nonprofit that helps teens and young adults navigate difficult transitions. I'd volunteered to lead a basic photography class, just once a week to start. The light-filled room smelled faintly of printer paper and acrylic paint. Old cameras lined the shelves. Some worked, some didn't, but the kids didn't care. They were more excited about capturing light than gear. There was a moment early in the second week when a boy named Caleb held up a photo he'd taken of a cracked sidewalk with a tiny sprout pushing through. "Is this anything?" he asked. It's everything, I told him. Sometimes survival looks small, but that's where the story is. Later that afternoon, as I was cleaning up, my phone buzzed. Marcus again. Hey, just a heads up, is this your parents' house on Maplewood? It's listed as urgent, deferred maintenance, high foreclosure risk. Thought you should know. I didn't reply right away, just stared at the message. Then I turned back to the classroom and printed one of Caleb's photos, a close-up of an empty chair near the window, soft light spilling across it. Something about the stillness pulled me in. I pinned it to the corkboard near the entrance. Miss R, one of the students asked, "Who's that seat for?" I smiled. "Someone learning how to show up," I said, "even when no one's watching." Later that week, Mrs. Castillo called. "I hope this isn't overstepping," she began, "but I saw Samantha at Trader Joe's yesterday. She looked tired. I think she's moved back in with your folks." I thanked her, hung up, and didn't feel much at all. Not anger, not relief, just a kind of distance that no longer required explanation. Back at the apartment, Olivia and I sat on the stoop after dinner, sipping cheap, sparkling water. "I think they're scared now," she said, scrolling on her phone, "maybe even embarrassed." "I don't need them to feel anything," I said. "I'm not patching broken homes anymore." She looked over. "No, no," I repeated. "I'm helping people build new ones." That night, I cleaned off my small corkboard in the hallway. I added a photo from the first day of class, 6 teens grinning with cameras slung across their shoulders. Under it, I pinned Caleb's empty chair. Then, just as I was brushing my teeth, I heard the soft thunk of mail hitting the slot in the door. I walked over, still wiping toothpaste from my mouth. A single envelope, blue, with delicate cursive handwriting I knew too well, my mother's. Edgewater Park had always been quiet in late November. The leaves had long surrendered to the wind, leaving bare branches that clawed gently at the pale sky. I hadn't been there since last spring, but that morning something pulled me back. The light was just right, low and golden, stretching across the walking paths like spilled honey. I walked slowly, my camera hanging from my neck, not to search, but to wait. Then I saw them. A mother and her young son, bundled in puffy jackets, chasing each other between the sycamores. The boy darted ahead, laughing, while the mother followed with outstretched arms. Her scarf trailed behind her like a ribbon in the wind. I raised my lens and clicked. It was the photo I'd missed years ago, the one I couldn't bring myself to take because I was too busy carrying other people's weight to see beauty unfolding in front of me. Later that day, I stood inside the bookstore cafe where my photo exhibit had just opened. It wasn't fancy. No champagne, no speeches, just soft music, the scent of roasted coffee, and prints lining the walls. Quiet moments, small truths. A woman in her 60s stood in front of one of my larger pieces, a father braiding his daughter's hair on a porch stoop. She turned to me. "Your work," she said, "it speaks for people who've been forgotten." Like it gives them a voice they didn't know they had. I smiled, not politely, genuinely. "Thank you," I said. "That's what I hoped." At the end of the evening, I slipped into the back room where my coat and bags waited. I pulled out the blue envelope I'd received weeks ago, the one with my mother's handwriting. I hadn't opened it. Still hadn't. The weight of it had lessened somehow. I reached for the old scrapbook I'd started keeping last spring. Inside were prints I once hesitated to display, photos that felt too personal, too raw. I tucked the unopened envelope between 2 pages, next to a black and white photo of my teenage self, holding a camera too big for her hands. I closed the book gently and set it aside. Walking back out, I ordered a cup of chamomile tea and found a seat near the window. Outside, the wind swayed the bare branches. Inside, my heart was still. My phone vibrated on the table. I glanced at it, then turned it face down without reading. I took a sip of tea and let the warmth settle into my chest. I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for apologies, not for recognition. and certainly not for a return to what once was. Family, I'd come to understand, isn't defined by who you're born to. It's who shows up when it matters, who sees you fully, without conditions. And in the absence of that, it's enough to show up for yourself. I turned toward the window, the steam from my cup curling like breath against the glass. And for the first time in a long time, I felt entirely, unmistakably free. Sometimes, peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from choosing not to be misunderstood any longer. Sitting in that bookstore cafe, holding my tea and watching the light shift outside, I finally knew I had chosen myself, not out of bitterness, but out of grace. We often carry more than we should for longer than we need to, but there's quiet strength in setting down the load, in letting others find their footing without your hands beneath them. Family isn't just about blood. It's about presence, respect, and choosing each other again and again. And sometimes, choosing yourself first is the only way back to wholeness. If this story stirred something in you, I'd be honored to hear your thoughts. Maybe you've stood at a similar crossroad. Feel free to share your journey, or simply take this as a quiet reminder. You are allowed to choose peace.